With that, we bring in live Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network. You can watch him through all 7 rounds in Green Bay, which, by the way, is going to be an experience. I love the NFL moving around the draft. There's nothing like Lambeau and the Green Bay Packer fans. Live coverage starts Thursday on the NFL Network at 8 Eastern. I will be absolutely glued. So let's start with Jaxson Dart. I'm a bigger Shedeur fan than most. I think Cam Ward's going to be a big hit in Tennessee, so I like 2 quarterbacks. Jaxson Dart's the one I don't get. I've said same high school as Zach, same kind of size. I think he's better than Zach. I think he's a stronger kid. Tell me what I'm missing, because everybody I talk to likes him. I don't quite see it.
Yeah, Colin, for me, he ended up being my 34th player, I think, like 34, 36, like somewhere in that range. So I had him in that second round grouping. And the way I would sell you on him, in terms of the value there, it reminds me a lot of Hurts, just when Hurts was coming out, and that you follow the trend line with Hurts. Hurts got better every year. He's a strong, sturdy guy. He's a gym rat who's obsessed with being good. All the intangible stuff's off the charts. The toughness is there. The intelligence is there. So to me, I think you're just buying that trend line just keeps on going. And I look at, the Giants are the team that I think make the most sense. I think he's a little more physical than Shedeur from that conversation. I have Shedeur rated higher than him, but for the Giants specifically, I could see Brian Daboll feeling like he's a little bit better fit for that environment that they're in there in terms of the weather you're going to be playing in, the wind, all those things.
Well, having worked for multiple organizations in your career and now doing the Chargers radio, I was talking to an offensive coordinator this weekend who I had dinner with, and I was talking about the coach and the decisions made, and, you can have owners' impact. The Raiders are fascinating to me because, and I wonder if teams think about this. So if Geno Smith and Sam Darnold are a little similar, if they're throwing with decent protection and a run game on 3rd and 2, watch out. If Geno or Sam are throwing without a run game and the O-line protection's not great, they can turn fast. And I look at Geno and I'm like, if Geno, I like the Raiders O-line, left tackle, center from Oregon, right tackle from Maryland. I look at the Raiders and I'm like, I can see Pete Carroll saying, hey, Geno with a run game is a pretty B-plus quarterback. Do you think coaches think that way based on maybe it's a bit of a reach, but he makes our quarterback better? And in this league, that's about 75% of it.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Jeanty.
Yeah,
to me, Jeanty, I have him as the 3rd best player in the draft.
Wow.
So from a talent standpoint, absolutely, it makes sense. And usually when you have teams picking up there, the pushback I have on running backs is, man, if your team's not ready for them, don't take them. Because you only have 6 or 7 year run with these backs. So don't waste them on a team that doesn't have a good offensive line or is a bad situation for them, because then you've wasted 2 or 3 of those, 6 or 7 years. Like, you need to have a team that's ready for them. And even though they're picking up there in the top 10, I can make a strong case. The Raiders have some good pieces on that offensive line, continue to add to it. Another interior player would be nice. The Bears have done their best to retool and revamp their group. I think both those teams in the top 10, they would make sense to me for Ashton Jeanty as teams that are ready to maximize him, right when he gets there. And you're looking at someone to help an older quarterback in Vegas, or somebody to come in there and try and, look at the opportunity to help Caleb and get him up and running. So both those make a lot of sense to me.
Okay, so what is Jeanty better at than Omario Hampton from Carolina? Because he jumps through the TV as well. But how does Jeanty separate from another back who, by the way, is a home run threat? He's got major burst. I watched them a lot at Carolina. Why is Jeanty better than Hampton?
Yeah, and Hampton's like my 13th player. So to me, you're talking about 2 guys who are top 15 talents in this draft class. Now, Hampton, you get a bigger body. You get, the durability. Both these guys are incredibly durable. Hampton, you give him the plus side in terms of, polish in the pass game. So that would definitely go to him, size and then the value there. But just as a pure runner, instincts, like contact balance, shiftiness, Jeanty's such a gifted runner of the football. And I think that he can create space when it's not there. I think Hampton's a little more of a crease runner. Just give him a little bit of space and he can really go. But I see Jeanty, that game that everybody kind of wanted to hit him on, like, oh, how will he do against Penn State? And I'm like, well, the 5-yard runs he had in the Penn State game were as impressive as any 5-yard runs you're going to see he's fighting off 5 guys to get past the line of scrimmage and still found a way to make something positive happen. So I think both those guys are great players.
Okay, I got to ask you. It's you had said earlier it's not a star draft, it's a starter draft. There are players. I want to give you a player, Colston Loveland for Michigan. So a lot of the picks, like 21 or 22 down, are offensive coaches and clever guys. Kevin O'Connell, Sean Payton, Sean McVay, Andy Reid, Harbaugh. Colston Loveland to me is interesting. He looks like a receiver, but he's like 245, but he carries his weight because he's so tall. And I could see an offensive coach going, I could see Harbaugh going, you know what? I had him at Michigan. I can use him. We need a receiver and a tight end. I can use him as both. What do you make of him? I see all these smart offensive coaches at the end of the first round, and I'm like, I could see those guys going, he is a day one starter. What do you make of him?
Well, as you're looking, I just want to make sure I don't say the wrong number here because I don't want to give you the wrong number. So Colston Loveland is my 7th overall player.
Wow.
So that tells you what kind of grade I have on him. I saw him play live this year, saw him in person, went down there for warm-ups, and you're right. Like, he's impressive when you just see him physically. He's an unbelievable athlete. He does things like I have Warren one spot above him. I think two of those. It's a weird draft, right? I've got a running back and 2 tight ends in my top 7 players in this draft class. But when you look at Warren's kind of like that bigger inline physicality. But when you're watching Loveland, this is someone who can win at the line of scrimmage. He can win at the top of the route. I mean, you talk about the Chargers. I can't imagine that he gets within distance. But I will tell you this, Colin, if you're watching Thursday night and he's on the board, I do not expect the Chargers to use all 10 minutes. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Give me a player that I was talking to an NFL executive who just loved Emeka Egbuka, the receiver for Ohio State. He's like, oh, this guy, the routes, he's like, he is going to play day one, a total grown-up. And he just went on and on. He goes, and it was funny because he's like, we don't need a slot receiver, and he hasn't played enough on the sideline. But I think in a draft like this, I thought he was overshadowed at Ohio State. So what kind of NFL player is he going to be? What is his comp? Because everybody I talk to loves him.
Well, I don't think you have to go, far back. I think you go to the same school and look what Jackson Smith and Jigba, turned into last year when they started to really get him up and running up there in Seattle. Smart, tough, strong. I love the Les Snead is someone I like talking to about receivers. And we had this conversation a couple of years ago, and he talked about the importance of just being grounded through the catch. Like guys who trust their hands, they run through the ball. They don't jump and catch the ball in their body. They don't gather step. Like they can haul right through the ball. And you look at guys they've had success with Kupp and with Puka. Even go back to like Robert Woods, those guys who had real strong natural hands. To me, Egbuka does those things. And the other thing, you want to do some bunch stuff and you want him to dig out a linebacker, you don't have to ask him twice. He has no problem getting in there and doing that. Like that's a nice bonus that he brings to the table. And when I tell you that he was impressive at the combine, I'm talking like buddies of mine that have been doing this for 30 years say this is one of the top 5 interviews I've ever had. That's how impressive this kid is.
Wow. I kind of feel like the draft starts with the New York Giants because that's what it feels like to me. What is your gut on what they do at number 3?
Well, I mean, to me, I think Shedeur goes 3 or Shedeur goes 21. That I don't see the Shedeur team in between those 2 spots, and maybe you have somebody come back up for him. But I think that's, he's in play there with the Giants. My gut tells me they'd rather have the quarterback as the second person to speak at the press conference. We tried out Abdul Carter. We got our premier position. We feel like there's not much risk there. And then now we introduce the quarterback, maybe not as much pressure on him at this point in time. We believe in him. We don't have to play him right away. But we kind of, to me, that combination makes a lot of sense. Now, whether that's trading back up for Jaxson Dart or whether that's trading back up for Shedeur, we'll see how that all unfolds. But my gut is just feels like, man, you want to get a sure thing up there. And with Hunter, we all assume is going to be gone at 2. Then that would put Abdul Carter right in your mix.
Finally, Nico Iamaleava is the quarterback that played, was a high school phenom, goes to Tennessee. I think he's talented. He didn't play great in the biggest games, but, it's hard to play great when you're playing Georgia and Ohio State and the like. Then it's very public. It feels like Dad had influence. He goes to UCLA, which is not the same level of program of Tennessee. Does it matter? I've heard a lot of people say it's going to hurt him in the NFL, and I'm like, yeah, maybe at quarterback it does. As somebody that's worked around the NFL and is currently employed by an NFL team, does it hurt him in the NFL in a year? If he has a good year at UCLA, would it hurt him?
I'll just give you a real simple explanation here, Colin. What's going to happen, fast forward a year from now or 2 years from now, whenever he decides to enter, the teams that don't need quarterbacks and are picking towards the bottom of the draft will critique and have all types of issues with this situation and the decision that he made. Those that actually need quarterbacks or are in a position to actually take quarterbacks are not going to give a flying flip about any of this stuff. Like, just give me the talented kid who, I can build with and grow with. All these kids have transferred. I don't, going into the motivations of why they left, and there'll be arguments made. It was the offense, and some people will say it was the money. At the end of the day, Colin, just always remember talent over everything.
Yeah, that's it. Daniel Jeremiah, Move the Sticks podcast, Thursday, 8 Eastern. That's 5 o'clock our time here on the West Coast, NFL Network. He and the staff over there do a great job on the draft. It's great seeing you as always, my man.
Good to see you, buddy.
All right. Yeah, he does terrific work.